What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and this evening I have a special guest for you, Strongman, Albert Brand.
Ciao, homie.
Welcome back to My Block's Strongest Man, where we bring strongman into the mainstream by discussing all of the latest strongman events in the greatest analytic detail that you'll find anywhere on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to this channel. Make sure to comment below whether you agree or disagree with my videos. I love the engagement, and I respond to every single comment. Now on to today's topic. Hey Albert, how are you? Thanks for joining the channel this evening.
Hey, doing good. A little cold up here in Minnesota. I think when I woke up this morning, it was -20.
Whoa.
So little chilly, but we're doing good.
Wow, we get down into like the teens above zero here in New Jersey, but we got a lot of snow recently. How about you?
Yeah, we've had some snow. I mean, we got about a couple inches on the ground right now, but just the temperatures is what kill. You get the temperature's -20 and the wind chill's about -40, and yeah, it's
terrible.
It's cold.
Yeah, we got the ice storm starting tonight, so hopefully I work from home. I don't know about you, so I'll just stay in.
There you go. It's a good plan.
Yeah. So I just want to start off with, for people who don't know you, kind of take a moment to talk about some of your accomplishments, goals that you've set for yourself that you have accomplished, and just like what you've done in Strongman so far.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm relatively new to the sport of strongman. So I started, my first competition was about 2 years ago. Competed in Indiana's Strongest Man in the novice division. Kind of my journey to strongman it's been fun. Played football in high school. Was offensive tackle. I mean, I'm 6'3". Back in high school, I was probably about 280, so a pretty big high schooler. And my sophomore year, I actually dislocated my shoulder lifting weights. Ooh. And I was kind of a bonehead, and hey, I'm fine. I can power through this, right? I'm this big, tough, manly man guy. Like nothing can stop me, right? I was high school, right? Invincible. So I never got it looked at, just kept pushing through. By the end of the season, I'd probably dislocated it about, 50, 60 times, like every game. It just got to the point where it just fall out, like it just would never stay in place. And so I ended up having to have my shoulder reconstructed. And of course, went into the surgery thinking, hey, I'll get back on the football field next year. Everything's fine. Surgery was supposed to take about 2 hours, ended up taking about 12 hours. I come out of it and the doctor's like, hey, listen, you're not going to want to hear this, but you're never going to be able to play football, lift a weight, really do anything again. With that arm, you got to take it easy. So it was kind of like, that sucks. I don't want to do that. So, spent a lot of time rehabbing it, kind of got into Olympic weightlifting a little bit. Kind of like that, which that kind of led into CrossFit. I did CrossFit for a couple years, and then, I had a job where I traveled a lot and wasn't able to work out a ton. I got really fat. Well, not really fat, but I got to what I'm like now. And I was like, CrossFit's fun, but I just want to do something where I can lift weights and lift heavy things and, have a lot more fun than I was doing CrossFit. Looked up a strongman competition, and it was from there, started doing strongman. And like I said, still pretty new. Probably one of my biggest highlights so far in strongman is 2019 qualified. My first year in strongman, qualified for the official strongman games. So went down to Daytona Beach for that, which is really awesome. I got to not only see a lot of these people that I looked up to and, watch their videos and everything, but got to compete with some of them, right? I got Luke Richardson was in my class. I mean, wow. he won it. There was, just so many, Nick Best was there, Mark Felix, they're competing, Terry Hollins, Eddie Hall was there kind of emceeing, and it was really cool to see all these people in person, even though I think in my weight class, there's 25 guys and I came in 20th. I didn't come in last, but, came in 20th place, but it was really cool to compete at that high level and see guys at that high level. And that really kind of helped motivate me and push me to be better. So it was really cool.
Yeah, that does sound really cool. In fact, I interviewed Jessica Fithen not too long ago, and she started with Olympic weightlifting as well. So maybe good things in your future like her.
There you go. Yeah, I know. So I know Jessica very well. I was actually that first show I did, Indiana Strongest Man. She was one of the judges there, and I met some people there. Didn't really. I ran into her. Didn't really quite hit it off with her yet, but. I ended up going to a gym in Indiana, Unbreakable Athletics Academy in Indiana, where she trains out of. I remember I walk in, and I'm new to Strongman, and it's a CrossFit gym / Strongman. I walk into that gym, and I see Jessica, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for, his name was Russell. I'm looking for Russell. He's supposed to help me teach me some Strongman stuff. And she's like, oh, yeah, come on. He's not here yet, but here, I'll start showing you some stuff. And she started working. I mean, she was phenomenal. It was really cool to kind of work with her a lot. And, I moved up here to Minnesota a couple months ago, but I was in Indiana for about, a year and a half, 2 years. Being able to work out with her was really great.
Yeah, that is. I can imagine. So kind of the way that our paths crossed, you and I, is through Christina Bangma. So kind of like, how did you meet her? What's that association? And tell me a little bit. She's incredible in her own right and very, very accomplished. But tell me kind of how you met her and that whole association.
Definitely. So same way. I mean, Christina's actually the one that put on that first show I did. So it was hosted by her gym. So met her that way, of course. As I got to know Jessica and Christina, we'd all kind of work out together. We'd go up to Christina's gym some Saturdays and work out. Started doing, some shows together. Jessica and Christina were both at the official Strongman games that I was at too. So it was really cool. They were competing. It's cool to compete there with them. And then, and actually Christina she's actually my coach. She does all my programming for me as well. So it's really cool to be able to get programming and from somebody that's as accomplished as she is. She's phenomenal.
So is she back in Indiana? Is that happening virtually for you or?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So she does all my programming and, virtual coaching.
Nice. That's awesome. So are you going to be competing at Savage Strength?
That's the plan. I want to come back for that show to Indiana. I have a show I'm doing this weekend, Winter Assault up here in Minnesota. So I'll be doing that this weekend on the 20th. And then, my plan is the next one to be back at her show.
Yep. Which is in May, right? So plenty of time to recover and re-prep, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Definitely.
So kind of let's rewind a little bit and talk about what are some interesting things about your background or your roots that maybe my audience might find interesting.
Interesting thing about my background. I've always, I've always kind of done, growing up, I do manual labor. I've done different construction and things like that, right? Kind of hands-on jobs until I transitioned into more of a corporate role. But, it's funny. Ever since I was younger, I was training for Strongman and didn't even know it. So, for example, when I was a teenager, I remember me and my buddies, those big, kind of wooden railroad ties, the 6 foot long, super, super thick wooden railroad ties. They weigh a couple 100 pounds or whatever have you. I remember me and my buddies, we used to pick them up and see who could run the furthest with it. So it's kind of cool, looking back, I never dreamed that I would, compete in a sport, especially in strongman, right? But it's kind of cool looking back, growing up, I did a lot of things that, kind of translated into competing in it now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can for sure relate with that because I was an only child growing up and I played normal stuff with my buddies like baseball, kickball, basketball, whatever. But when I was by myself, I had to come up with creative ways to have fun. And I had my little bench, did my little bench press. But, for me, what was fun was grabbing my dad's keys, putting the car neutral and pushing it up and down the driveway and kind of, I've never competed strongman, but that love stays with you. Those are kind of the memories of my childhood. So I can totally relate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So now, in your corporate role, is it still overseeing construction or in a different discipline?
So it's a different. Currently, I work for a fiber an internet company, which unfortunately I don't have that. They don't service my area. That's probably why I'm internet issues. But I'm a market manager for a fiber internet company. I run their market here in Minnesota. So I was doing similar. Working for the same company in Indiana, and then moved up here with them back in July.
Nice. And so that works well around your training schedule?
Yeah, it does. It gives me, usually in the evening, so a couple trainings definitely finding time for training is important, right? So my schedule's definitely full. So I work full time. I'm also in school full time. So I'm going back to school to get my MBA, finishing my master's, which should be done hopefully here in a couple months. I'll be done with that. So that'll free up some time. And then family life too. So I have 4 kids. So married to 4 kids. So, finding the time to work, go to school, and spend time with my kids, go to there. I mean, my daughters are really big into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and they're like badasses at it too, which is awesome to watch them like make boys cry. Like they'll go and choke them out, and these kids will start crying, and they're just over there smirking. But so finding time for all that, and then training. So yeah, it's definitely a juggling act as well to make sure cover all the bases, right?
Yeah, I mean, kudos to you, man. You're like really handling quite a lot there. I thought I had my hands full with 2 kids before. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 kids, full-time job, full-time school, and trying to make everything work. So like I said, graduate hopefully a couple months. So that's going to take some off my plate and be able to train a little bit more, a little bit harder.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I mentioned I'm over on the East Coast. I'm in New Jersey. So just kind of like for people in other parts of the world watching this who may not be familiar, what would you say is the best thing about Minnesota culture and even Indiana?
The best thing about the culture here, I mean, okay, so the most interesting thing about the culture is what they call the Minnesota goodbye or the Minnesota hello. That it's basically the same thing. So, and you might see this in a lot of parts, but it honestly is you start to say goodbye to somebody, and you better allot at least another 20 minutes to talk with that person, because the goodbye and the hello take forever. I remember when I first got up here, I said bye to somebody, and then I kind of left and walked out, and come to find out later that person was offended. They're like, oh, you didn't, you just said bye and left. I'm like, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Just say bye and leave. And then they explained to me, no. You have to say bye. You have to talk about the what, you have to, chat for a good 10 minutes, and then you say bye again. Then you leave. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's kind of cool. It's very, very friendly, a very, inviting place to live. We've enjoyed it the last 7 months we've been here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, my ancestry is Italian, and they do kind of a similar thing. Like, we go to different weddings or different events or whatnot. And, when I got married, my wife has some Italian in her family as well, but just like I'm fewer standard deviations away. Like my mother was born there. And so she was just surprised. Like every time we'd leave a wedding or whatever party, she says, oh, your mother's doing the goodbye tour again? Like, what is this goodbye tour?
Yeah, exactly. I was really moving up here too. It was kind of nerve-wracking for me, because in Indiana I had my whole setup. I had the place I'd go to work out. I had all the equipment I needed. I kind of had everything I needed to do it. And then we come up here, and there's just not as many strength gyms or strongman gyms around to utilize. I mean, there's one I started, it had some stuff. It was more of a bodybuilding gym. It didn't really have everything I need. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll just, kind of start building my own gym, and, or just garage gym, right? Start getting my own things and start training. And then it was funny how things kind of fall into place. I randomly one day got a message from this guy, and I ended up moving to a town that's only got about 5,000 people. It's pretty small. I mean, we're close to Rochester, which where like the Mayo Clinic is. It's a pretty big town, but I moved to the outskirts, about 5,000 people in the town I live in. And then randomly I get this message from this guy that lives in my small town of 5,000 people. He's like, hey, you train strongman? I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, hey, I got a bunch of strongman equipment in my garage if you want to come use it. I'm like, hold on, wait. You're telling me in this tiny town there's somebody that's got a ton of strongman equipment? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do you have? I'm thinking maybe he's got like some weights and a bar. So I go into his garage, and I see a yoke, I see a log, I see stones, I see, drop pads, I see, literally Husafel stones, literally everything, farmer's handles, different types of lifting bars, everything you can imagine. I'm like, holy shit, dude, like you have all this stuff. Like, this is exactly like what I need. He's like, dude, feel free to come and and work out whenever you want. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And come to find out, he's trying to, which he's been awesome. He goes by Kratos Strength Equipment. He's getting into kind of the equipment game too, and producing and manufacturing some equipment. But I was like, what are the odds, right? I moved to this tiny town. I'm a couple months in, kind of struggling to find a place to really work out. And then randomly he sends me a message one day, hey, do you want to come work out? I told him, I was like, dude, this is like heaven. He opened up the garage doors. I'm like, this is freaking awesome, man. So I kind of put my mind a little at ease, knowing, hey, now I have a place I can really train and, really, rededicate things and hit the ground running, which is awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good. When we're all done, shoot me his information. I'll definitely check him out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you don't mind talking about it, have you ever had kind of any serious injuries? And, if so, how did you work through them? I think people are inspired to hear, overcoming obstacle type stories. So if you have any of those, that would be wonderful.
Definitely. So the biggest one that rings a bell is, of course, my shoulder injury back when I was in high school. Had my shoulder completely reconstructed, and the doctor said, hey, you'll never be able to lift weight again. And it was. So if you imagine you have the ball in the socket joint, right? It came out so many times that it actually eroded half of that ball joint away. So I didn't have a ball joint anymore. And so they had to cut out part of my shoulder blade, move it over, screw it in. It took 2 screws and 4 anchors, and it basically completely reconstructed my shoulder. And, after that, they did an amazing job. And they're like, hey, listen, you got to take care of this. You don't want to put too much strain, too much pressure on. Of course, they're being cautious as doctors. But I mean, that was really hard for me to overcome. But I rehabbed the hell out of it. I went in and said, hey, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm not going to let this slow down. And I mean, and since then I've been able to press, do everything, and put some pretty significant weight, pressure on it. And it's been great. So that's probably the biggest one. Other than that, I definitely haven't had too many serious injuries. I've definitely pulled some hamstrings, which that's always horrific for a couple of weeks. Strained some biceps. I remember back in 2019, about 2 weeks before official Strongman games, I was playing in a flag football league, which probably was a bad idea right before I compete in a competition. But I was playing in a flag football league, and somebody's cleat came right back down on my calf and crunched in my calf. And I had a huge just cleat print on the back of my calf and strained my calf. Luckily, it was 2 weeks before. It took about 2 weeks to heal to where I can actually bend it and have some mobility and do well. But luckily, I haven't had too many major injuries. A couple minor, bruises and scrapes here and there. But, since being in Strongman, I've been pretty fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the story a lot about not just with Strongman, but injuries in football that lead to you can't ever play this again. So folks come in contact with another athletic career. Like, what is it about football that's so difficult that doesn't stop you from doing the other thing? Like, I hear it in pro wrestling a lot. Like, I think it happened to Bill Goldberg, where he played football, got injured, could never play again, but he was a fantastic pro wrestler, which is very athletic. So, like, what about football makes it like you can't do this anymore, but you could do all this other stuff?
Yeah, you see, I don't know, and I think maybe that's just out of caution. They say, hey, you can't do this anymore, because and if you look at it from a doctor's perspective, right? They just spent 12 hours reconstructing my shoulder and however much that cost, right? And they don't want you to screw up what they did. And so, hey, the thing that caused it, that's out. Right. Maybe explore some new things, but whatever caused it's out. But, I think looking back on it, I mean, I think I would have been fine going back and playing. I probably could have powered through it. But, it's kind of interesting how those things kind of shape your life and lead you in one direction. And, if I would have kept playing football, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. Right. It's interesting how that works out.
Well, I mean, I've really enjoyed our time together. We talked about a lot of really interesting stuff. What I like to do to wrap up my interviews is just give you an opportunity to promote anything you'd like. I don't know if you have any sponsorships or anything, or any affiliations, anything you'd like to promote, how people can follow you, and just whatever you like.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to look me up on Instagram, brand_strength. So brand strength on Instagram. And really the main, don't have any sponsorships or anything right now. But the main thing is Kratos Strength Equipment. You can find them on Instagram at Kratos Strength Equipment. I mean, Andrew, he's the owner of it. I mean, they're really starting to, make some pretty cool stuff. And, now at a time where it's kind of hard to find some strength equipment, right? Because everybody's selling out of it. Everybody's building these garage gyms and you can't find much. I mean, they got axle bars, the Atlas stones. I mean, some of the stuff that they're, looking to design and create is pretty cool. So I check them out.
Yeah, I'll check them out for sure. Maybe we grow together. I'll use my big mouth to get some word out about him.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Veteran-owned company. So he's a cool guy.
Awesome. All right. Well, Albert, thanks again for jumping on here tonight. Maybe we get together after your next comp and talk some more. What do you think?
There we go. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, have a good night.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.